my golly. Can I lower this just a bit? Look at this. Not too much. You can raise it. This is just fun. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Question for you. What is anti-Semitism? I bet any American can answer that question, and they can tell you when they see it. But I'm curious about a college administrator. Does anti-Semitism belong on college campuses? Of course not. Do college administrators agree? Well, we'll find out tomorrow when 3 university presidents appear before the House Committee on Education and Workforce to answer just those questions. And I will cut right to the chase. If any of them can't denounce anti-Semitism, or more importantly, take action to protect their students, then they should be fired immediately. Remember, actions speak louder than words. The American people are watching, the students are watching, and the president is watching. As a member of the House Committee on Education and the Workforce, my colleagues and I will ensure that these colleges are being held accountable for their actions or lack thereof. Anti-Semitism in any form will just not be tolerated. And I thank President Trump and his work on this very crucial issue. Now, switching gears for our work this week, House Republicans continue to work to codify President Trump and the American people's agenda. We will codify President Trump's executive order renaming the Gulf of America. The American people are footing the bill to protect and secure the Gulf of America. It's only right that it's named appropriately. On Friday, we received the president's budget. It aims to root out wasteful spending, deliver historic saving, and protect essential programs, just like we'll be doing in our One Big Beautiful Bill. And lastly, but certainly not least, House Republicans celebrate National Small Business Week. It's fitting we celebrate Small Business Week amidst our work to prevent the largest tax hike in American history. Unfortunately, not a single Democrat has joined us in our efforts on this. They've already turned their backs on millions of workers and support shuttering thousands of small businesses that employ nearly half of the workforce. And here to speak on this is Chairman of the Small Business Committee, our coach, Mr. Roger Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is going to be a great week for America. It's going to be a great week for small business. You know, small business represents 99% of our businesses in America are small businesses. 50% of the payroll, 50% of the workforce is generated by Main Street America. And the American dream is living large right now. I will tell you what's ahead for us. We got a great partnership between Senator Ernst and I and Administrator Loeffler. We're very closely together with the SBA, which is over purview of the Small Business Committee. But when you look at the opportunities that are out there for small business is ready for the Trump tax cuts. When you talk about Trump tax cuts, you talk about less regulations. You talk about 100% expensing. Unbelievable opportunities ahead for Main Street America. So we will celebrate that this week. One of the things we've already done with Administrator Loeffler and Senator Ernst and myself is we've already raised we've filed to raise the $5 million loan max on manufacturing to $10 million. This is big. This is a big thing because now people can expand their business, they can get started in business, they can stay in business. So we've got a lot of great things happening. We should all be proud to live in this country, but also we got the greatest economy in the world. It's going to get nothing but better, and the American dream is living and breathing as we speak right now. It's an honor to be the chair of the Small Business Committee and work with these people behind me. God bless.
Crypto's footing slips on the hill. Some reports read this morning. As a member of the most pro-crypto Congress ever, I wholeheartedly reject that premise. I want to remind everyone listening that crypto is not right or left. It's not Republican or Democrat. It's the future, and it's for everyone. In an increasingly digital world, America must step up as the leader in digital asset innovation and investment. President Trump vowed to make America the crypto capital of the world. And since day one, he's delivered by reversing Joe Biden and Gary Gensler's anti-crypto crusade. From signing a bill into law that repeals the Biden-era IRS rule that chilled DeFi innovation, to signing executive orders that create a strategic reserve of crypto and prohibit the establishment of a central bank digital currency. President Trump is positioning the United States as the world leader in digital assets. These are moves that can and should be celebrated by all of us. As the most pro-crypto, pro-innovation Congress ever elected, we are already taking bipartisan steps, I would argue nonpartisan steps, to ensure digital asset policy champions decentralization and open, permissionless, and private innovation. This is the only viable path forward. By originating the regulatory framework for crypto here in Congress, the future of digital assets will be determined by the American people and their representatives, as it should be. The moment to get this done is now, and we need to get it done together. If we fail to provide clarity that protects innovators and consumers alike, the future of crypto and the opportunities it brings will belong to another nation. To deliver on President Trump's crypto promises that individuals in both parties can get behind, Congress must keep taking steps closer to getting a nonpartisan, or you guys like to report bipartisan, regulatory framework across the finish line, and quickly. With that, I turn it over to our leader Scalise.
Thank you, Whip. It was great to hear from our chairman of the Small Business Committee, Roger Williams. Nobody understands the value of small businesses, the importance of promoting small businesses in America better than Roger and his chairman. He has ushered in policies and bills through that committee to allow small businesses to thrive. And if you look at the work we're doing with the One Big Beautiful Bill, the reconciliation package, this is a bill that will grow more small businesses across America. It'll create more jobs across America. It'll create stability. If you think about the idea that if Congress were to take no action this year, there would be a $4.5 trillion tax increase on American families. Over 95% of Americans would see a tax increase. And yet every Democrat in Washington will be voting no on that package and would like to see every family pay more in taxes. There are so many other provisions that are so critical to getting our economy back on track, to lowering inflation, to lowering the cost of things at the grocery store, at the gas pump, that are in this bill, and we are still moving through. Last week, I applaud 7 committees in Congress did their work, completely finished their work in reconciliation here in the House. Today, the Natural Resources Committee will take up their portion of the bill. That'll be 8 committees out of 11 that will already be done with all of their work this week. And then next week, the final 3 committees, Agriculture, Energy and Commerce, and Ways and Means, will take up and finish their work to get this big, beautiful bill not only through the House process, but over to the Senate. The Speaker and I met with Jason Smith and Brett Guthrie last week in the White House with President Trump to go through some of the final details that we are getting agreement on. And we've been working incredibly closely with the White House and with the Senate every step of the way, because this bill is critically important to American families. This bill is a big piece of carrying through that Trump agenda, the mandate that the American people gave us when they elected not just Donald Trump in the White House, but a Republican House and a Republican Senate to go deliver for the families who have been struggling for way too long. We do that with this One Big Beautiful Bill. Everything from tax stability in the tax code so that nobody sees a tax increase, bringing trillions of dollars of private investment back into the economy, opening up more energy production in America to reverse some of the damage Joe Biden did, everywhere from Anwar in Alaska, some of the great work that Congressman Begich just came into Congress, vowing to fight for the citizens of Alaska and open up more areas for production there. That's going to be in this bill, all the way down to the Gulf of America. opening up more areas for lease sales and production in the Gulf as well. All of those things are going to be in the bill. More defense funding, more border security, giving protection and technology to our Border Patrol agents. All of that is in the bill, too. Confronting the debt ceiling, dealing with rules and regulatory reform, all in this powerful bill. What the Education and Workforce Committee did to protect students from higher student debt. We actually protect students so that they're not saddled with high student loans when they graduate from college. That's in this bill as well, standing up and holding accountable the universities that were failing kids for so many years, saddling them with $200,000, $300,000 in debt without the ability to pay it back. So many good provisions. We're going to be bringing that bill to the floor once it's all finished next week, and then we compile it in Budget Committee and bring it as one big beautiful bill to the House floor and then pass it on to the Senate so that they can continue this work. And the man leading that charge in the House is our Speaker, Mike Johnson.
Good morning, everybody. Great to see you all. It's a great day on the Hill. We're very encouraged and even excited this morning about where we are and everything. President Trump, after the inauguration, and Republicans have taken our job very seriously. We haven't wasted a moment. We all celebrated the first 100 days of the Trump administration and all the extraordinary things that have been accomplished in such a short period of time. And we've been working around the clock to codify so much of what President Trump has been doing. I think there's 143 executive orders that have been issued thus far, and we're working around the clock to make sure that we put these into statutory law so that it can't be reversed and erased by an upcoming administration. For some reason, the media acts like that this effort is somehow a negative thing. It's not at all. Anybody who says that, they just fundamentally misunderstand the relationship between congressional Republicans and President Trump and his administration. We all ran on the same America First agenda: secure the border, cut taxes for working families, revive American energy production, strengthen our standing on the world stage, and bring back common sense. Those are the sort of the common themes of all these executive orders and the action the administration has taken. And this agenda, remember, was resoundingly endorsed by 77 million Americans who voted in the popular vote for the president, and almost as many for House Republicans. We set a record for that. It's the most diverse and expansive coalition we've seen in modern history, a real and true demographic shift. And the reason people voted that way is that they had this sort of hopeful anticipation that the president and Republicans in Congress would do exactly what we are doing right now. And we are fulfilling that promise. We already have the formula for prosperity and security, and that's the thing about President Trump. It's not an unknown entity. As we've all recounted many times, he's done it once, he'll do it again. We plan to work together to enshrine the agenda into law and make sure we have a roaring American economy and stability and security and prosperity and strength again. From day one, President Trump has used his executive authority to reverse also the devastating policies of the last administration. There was a lot of that to be done. But as the previous administration made it painfully clear, executive orders can be undone and overwritten, and that's why we have to move it through the legislative process. And we are. Here's a few key examples, okay, of what we've already voted to codify in terms of the executive orders. The President's Election Security Executive Order through the SAVE Act. That's what we voted on and got that done in the House. His executive order banning men from women's sports. We did that through the Women and Girls in Sports Act. His sanctions on the ICC. We did that through our Illegitimate Court Counteraction Act to support our ally Israel. And his Forest Management Executive Order through Fix Our Forests Act. Some of the things we've done so far. Now, this week, we'll add another one to the list. We're going to pass Marjorie Taylor Greene's bill to permanently rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And then we're going to codify dozens more of President Trump's budget-related executive orders, spending-related executive orders through the budget reconciliation process. Let me give you just a quick word on that, and then we'll take some questions. As Leader Scalise just recounted, we're really excited. We're very encouraged this morning. I mean, I'm so thankful to have such a team that's worked so hard. I began the House Republican Conference meeting this morning with all the House Republicans by congratulating and thanking all of our committee chairs. I mean, they worked so hard around the clock. And we've been doing this for almost a year, as we've said many times in here. And all the committee members who were so disciplined in getting the work done. I mean, they had 10, 12-hour hearings in some of these committees, some even longer. and they got the product done and through the process. So by the end of this week, we'll have 8 of the 11 committees of jurisdiction will have done their work, and then next week we will have Ways and Means, Energy and Commerce, and Ag. And some of you reported, or some of your outlets reported anyway, over the weekend that this was somehow a snag in the process, that those 3 committees were going next week instead of this week. But as I've explained to a few of you individually, I'll just say here together in the room, we went last Thursday to the White House, as the leader mentioned. Steve Scalise and I and Chairman Guthrie and Chairman Smith met in the White House with the president and his whole team on point. We had Secretary Bessent there from Treasury. We had Russ Vogt from Office of Management and Budget. We had his whole Leg Affairs team, and Susie Wiles, the Chief of Staff, and Stephen Miller, and the whole group. And the intention was to work through some of the final details, but we realized that we were still awaiting some key numbers on calculations on some of the provisions with tax and some of the other details. And it just made sense for us to push pause for a week to make sure that we do this right. We didn't want to move this quickly, speed for the sake of speed. We want to get it right. And so everybody in the room agreed that it made sense for us to do that. And so we pushed those 3 committees that are going next week just off another week, so we can make sure that we have the right equilibrium point on all the key issues. And I'm absolutely convinced we're going to do that, and I'm excited about it. So we'll stay on track. They'll do that next week, and by the end of the week, as Steve said, Leader Scalise said, we'll have our 11 committees. We'll send them by the end of next week to the Budget Committee, and Chairman Arrington then and his team will take that and merge it all together, and we'll have the one big, beautiful bill ready to go. We can pass that by Memorial Day. That was our original time frame, and some of the people in this room balked and thought that would be impossible, but stop doubting us. We're going to get this job done, okay? I'll just make this point. I made it on TV over the weekend, and I want to say it again. The House and Senate Republicans are utilizing the budget reconciliation process primarily because Leader Schumer in the Senate, Leader Jeffries in the House, and their Democrat colleagues refuse to engage in anything, no matter how meritorious, even to improve the lives of their constituents, if it means that President Trump will somehow be credited with a win. I mean, it's really sad, but that's the fact. They'd rather put on performative stunts and host these activist town halls and all this other nonsense than just work with us to bring costs down and make communities safer for their constituents. Now, just think about how the American people feel about these issues. Consider this: secure the border, right? Securing the border is an 80-20 issue in America. Deporting illegal aliens, more than 50% of American people believe that every single illegal alien should be deported, okay? And yet Democrats, much less the violent criminals, which the administration has taken on in earnest. But in spite of those numbers, okay, the Democrats are taking trips to Central America to bring back violent illegal aliens back to the country. It's madness. Strengthening Medicaid for Americans who need it, by eliminating things like fraud, waste, and abuse, which is a huge problem in the program, including removing illegal aliens. If you add all that together, 66% of the American people think that that's a very important idea. We need to improve and shore up and strengthen the program so that it can be there for the people who desperately need and deserve it. And Democrats, what are they doing? They're lying about what we're doing with Medicaid. So much so that we've gotten them to pull down their advertising because they were literally breaking the law. We sent cease and desist letters, and they had to take it down. Cutting taxes for working families and small businesses. What American doesn't want to pay fewer taxes to the government? There may be a few, but I haven't found them. Especially on matters like the overtime that they work, their tipped wages, and Social Security. Big promises for the president. We're going to deliver that. But it turns out congressional Democrats apparently want Americans to pay more. They're adamantly against all those things I just named. They're against keeping taxes low. And when they oppose the reconciliation bill, when they oppose the solution to this, to extending the tax cuts, they are actually advocating for the largest tax increase in U.S. history. End of sentence. Unleashing American energy, lowering input costs, creating new jobs. Democrats want a radical Green New Deal policy extension. They don't want these common sense solutions and all the above policies like we are bringing and that the American people demand and deserve. I could go on and on and on. You get the point. This is what we're endeavoring to do through our budget reconciliation process, and these are the policies we're fighting every day to deliver because these are the ones the American people support and they need and they deserve. When Democrats had a trifecta in 2021, they used the budget reconciliation process, but you know what they did? They used it to stimulate the economy. What did that mean? trillions in new spending and tax hikes and the Green New Deal giveaways. We can't do that. It's not sustainable. So we're going to reverse it. And guess what happened when they did that? We had runaway inflation, making the cost of living for everyday Americans unbearable. Contrast that with what we're doing. What Republicans are working on right now, what we are delivering through the committees and soon through the whole House: lower taxes, decreased regulation, safer streets, keeping money, more of your money that you earn in your own pocket. We'll take that to the people every single day, and they'll be for us. And as the House works to finish budget reconciliation over the next few weeks, we'll continue to shine a light on the do-nothing Democrats who would rather oppose President Trump's popular agenda than work for the needs of their own constituents. And I just think it's shameful. With that, I'll take a few questions. Olivia, yeah.
As you head into the final sort of stretch for reconciliation, members, centrists, conservatives seem to have a very different expectation of what the final product is going to look like. Have you made assurances, have you made promises that you can't keep to different members as this process begins to wrap?
No, I don't make promises I can't keep. This is a consensus building operation, as you know, and it's member driven, bottom up, and every single member of the conference has had many opportunities and has more this week to weigh in and let their preferences be known. This is about balancing preferences. I mean, no one's going to be surprised. Everybody knows where the touch points are on the final details of the final analysis, and we've been working really hard to take all the input and find that kind of equilibrium point where everybody is at least satisfied. Some people are not going to be elated by every provision of the bill. It's impossible. The bill's one big, beautiful bill. It's a big piece of legislation. There's a lot in it. So there's always going to be things, page by page, somebody can go through a large bill and find things that they're not, that they would have preferred to be handled another way. But in its totality, this is going to be the most important, most consequential legislation that we'll ever be involved in our lifetimes, and arguably one of the biggest in the history of Congress. And so I think at the end of the day, we'll get that consensus. And you know, there may be some grumbling about certain provisions, but as the whip said so aptly this morning in the conference meeting, he said, you gotta focus on the totality of the bill and not just individual details. But my job is to work out those details, and I'm very confident that we're going to get to that point by the end of this week, and we'll move this thing forward. So, yeah. Second row.
Thank you. Last week, the House passed 3 CRA resolutions terminating California vehicle emissions rules, but Senate Majority Leader John Thune is yet to make a decision to take out those resolutions or not. How confident are you that congressional Republicans can get these resolutions to the president's desk?
I've got a lot of confidence in Leader Thune. We work together very closely, almost daily, and he's managing a small margin as I am. Both of us now have 3 votes to spare. It's an embarrassment of riches, so he's got to do consensus building on it as well. I suspect every Republican's for that, but of course he's got to get about 7 Democrats to come along on everything, and that's the tough part. And Leader Schumer over there and the Democrats have made very clear they don't have much intention of getting anything done at all. They just want to stop all the progress. And I know a lot of Californians that are very, very excited, very happy that we took that big step, and I hope the Senate can get it done. But I don't know what their time frame is. Front row.
Speaker Johnson, How do you use reconciliation to remove illegal immigrants from Medicaid, and how do you confidently estimate the savings from that?
Well, it's not my estimation. I mean, these numbers come from the CBO and very credible sources. We have a pretty accurate count, we think, of how many are on the rolls in some of these states, and now we have a tabulation of what it will save the taxpayers to kick them off. And as I mentioned, I mean, public polling is squarely on our side on this. I mean, you cannot have an open doormat. You can't have an open border. Thankfully, President Trump has closed it now. But for 4 years, it was wide open, and we sent the message to everybody around the world, come here and you can get on the taxpayers' wagon, and that's just not, it's not right, it's not lawful, it's not morally correct. And we're gonna fix it in reconciliation. So stay tuned. There'll be a lot of savings for the American people, and I think it'll be wildly popular when we get it done. Yeah, back third row. Yeah.
So some of your colleagues have suggested this week that D.C. District Judge James Boasberg is being assigned a disproportionate number of, quote, high-profile cases related to the Trump administration. What is your take on that? Is it the view of House Republicans that the D.C. federal court isn't following judicial conference policy for random assignment on cases?
That's the first I've heard of the allegation, to be honest. I mean, I was a federal court litigator, and I don't have any evidence that they're, it's supposed to be a random drawing, and so far as I know, that's what's happening. I mean, we do have real concern about that individual judge and some of the decisions he's made. But look, I mentioned this to some colleagues this morning. When I used to litigate cases, I would run into activist judges on occasion, but I never walked out of the courthouse thinking that I would have the ability to impeach them. I just thought I need to get this to the appellate court as soon as possible to get them overturned, and we had a great success rate in that. Activist judges need to be addressed, and we passed the No Rogue Rulings Act a few weeks ago, Darrell Issa's bill, that would really solve that problem in a silver bullet. That's another thing we really hope the Senate can move. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. I mean, everybody, Republicans and Democrats, should want fair judges. I mean, that's our system of equal justice depends upon that, and it's gotten out of control. So I don't know. There are lots of allegations and concerns about it, but I haven't seen any proof of that. So yeah, go ahead. Jake.
You were asked about the Senate, what you expect the Senate to do with your reconciliation bill in the conference today. Will they just change a bunch of the stuff? And I think there's a concern about that from a lot of your members. I mean, give me your sense. I mean, how much you talk about your coordination with whom? How much do you think, or how much do you expect that the Senate will want to put its own imprint on this?
Well, look, we got some strong leaders in the Senate. They're all friends and colleagues of ours. We truly regard this as one team. I know that's an innovation in Washington. I know the House and Senate are supposed to be fighting each other all the time, but that's not the game we're playing. And I've been very deliberate, and Leader Thune has as well, to have no daylight between the two chambers. So there shouldn't be any big surprises. I mean, they're following very closely what we're doing, and vice versa. But the lion's share of the work has been done in the House, not by virtue of pride of authorship or because there's a competition between the two chambers, but just because that's the way the calendar fell. Remember, we started working on this in March of last year, and the Senate was going through lots of other things during that time period. They had a change in their leadership because Leader McConnell stepped down. They had a lot of turnover there. And they had to do, at the beginning of the first 100 days, they had to, of course, do all the confirmations of the administration, and they did it in record time to their great credit. But by virtue of that calendar, it meant that the House did a ton of the work. I mean, we're probably 8 months ahead of the Senate by some measures in all the deliberations and the detail work. So that, by necessity, means that we'll drive the initial product and send it over. And that's really the way the system is supposed to work anyway on a budget reconciliation. So we're going to be very proud of the product we send over there. I don't expect that it will take much modification. I hope there's very little at all, and that we can have an agreement. But the difference now and in years past, perhaps, is that our colleagues over there know exactly what we're doing. We're in careful, close communication, and with the White House team as well. So we're not sending over some package, that they'll receive blindly and not know what's in it. Everybody knows what we're working on and why, and the discussions we're having, and we're keeping them abreast of all of it. And if there are individual senators who have a problem, I'm apt to reach out to them myself, and committee chairs are as well. There's been very close coordination between the committee chairs on the matching jurisdictions on each side. So, look, I think that's going to make the process work really well in the end. That's my expectation.
Last question.
Back row.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to follow up on your comments about Congressman Issa's bill on judges. So, are judicial impeachments off the table for the rest of this Congress?
No, look, impeachments are never off the table if it's merited. But in our system, we've had 15 federal judges impeached in the entire history of the country. I mean, there may be some that I feel merit that, but you got to get the votes for it, right? And it's a very high burden, and frankly, the bar is high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, the last federal judge that was impeached, I think, it was caught taking cash in an envelope. It's like it's got to be a pretty brazen offense, a real open crime that everybody could agree to. So short of that, if we don't have the votes, and by the way, even if we could get an impeachment article through the House on a federal judge, it's unlikely that they would be tried and convicted in the Senate on that with the divided number we have. So short of that, what can we do? I mean, we've done everything within our power to solve that problem. And remember the stats. I think it's 67% of all national injunctions issued against a president in the last 100 years were against one president, and his name's Donald J. Trump. 90% of those were from openly, Democrat-appointed judges that many would regard as this other judge as activists or people venue shop to get in their courts. So we all know it's a real problem. It's not what the Founding Fathers intended. So what can we do? Using our power in the House, Darrell Issa's bill is a great response. The No Rogue Rulings Act would prohibit a single individual judge from issuing a nationwide injunction like that to stop the entire policy of an administration. I think that is a very common sense standard, and one that would kind of get back to the original intent and eliminate the ability of just one activist to just stop everything. And it's very reasonable legislation. We passed it through the House. We sent it to the Senate with every expectation that they should be able to take that up. And I certainly hope they can, because, again, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. It should be something that every American agrees with. We've got to restore faith in our system of justice. And it was eroded over the last 4 years on the Biden administration for all the reasons we know and have recounted here many times. And it falls to us to make sure that people can believe. Lady Justice has a blindfold for a reason, right? That the symbol is that it's equal justice under law, as it's chiseled into the marble above the Supreme Court's entrance when you walk in. We have to restore that. If you don't have the people's faith in a system of justice and fair judges, then you don't have anything in a republic. And that's why this is so important. We'll keep advancing it. Thanks so much for the time.
Leader Scalise, could I ask about